How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Drew Johnson. We are here in the dead part of August. It's the end of August, though, so we're close to the end. September is about to start, which means we are nearly 1 month or a little over a month away from Dallas Mavericks training camp, which, part of that will be taking place in Las Vegas, and then they'll come back to Dallas and they'll start the preseason. And next thing you know, DJ, we will be off and running with the new NBA season. It's going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait for it. We've had a very eventful offseason up to this dead part of the offseason. Obviously the Mavs got Klay Thompson. We've talked about that at length. They filled out the rest of their roster very nicely, with Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes, Spencer Dinwiddie. They're bringing back key players like P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, who was amazing for the Mavs all through his rookie season. And he had the second highest plus-minus in the postseason for a rookie since Manu Ginobili did it for the Spurs in 2003. So you're bringing back your main core guys pretty much from an NBA Finals participant. You improved it significantly especially on the offensive end of the floor, and you maintained your defensive flexibility on the defensive side. So things are looking up. The Mavs are a top title contender. Everybody, all the betting odds have the Mavs no worse than like third in the West in the betting odds. They're a top 5 or top 6 title contender according to betting odds. Luka is like right there neck and neck with Jokic for, MVP top odds going into the season. So everything's looking up. It should be a fun one. But for this pod specifically, we're just going to talk about Klay and his fit and how the Mavs are going to plan to use him during this season, because, he is going to have to tweak how he played, in Golden State to how he needs to play in Dallas a little bit, but it's not going to be anything major. And he alluded to that in his introductory press conference that, there's going to have to be a tweak, but it's going to be a seamless tweak, so to speak. There's going to be a lot less thinking for Klay. It's going to be a lot of catch and shoot, but that's not all he can do either. He's very good moving off the ball. We saw it with is it Jackson Davis is the center for the Warriors. He had a good synergy with him, and it's Derek Lively is obviously better than Jackson Davis, but a similar player profile. So you could see Thompson having some synergy with Derek Lively or even Daniel Gafford. But just overall, aside from the catch and shoot, which we know it's going to be there, we know Klay is elite. He's the 6th best three-point shooter as far as three-pointers made in NBA history. But other than that, how do you see the Mavs using Klay going into the season?
Oh, man. So you're talking about literally having one of the greatest shooters in the history of the NBA, and he can still shoot the ball at an extremely high level. We saw that last year. There's a lot of different things we could run with him, especially given our current roster situation, because it's not like, he's one of your top 3 players, but he's not one of the only people on the floor that can actually hurt you. And that is absolutely tremendous whenever you're drawing up sets for him, or just sets in general. With a team like this, there really isn't. Obviously the ball's going to either Luka or Kyrie, and they're going to manufacture things based off of what they do with it. But the go-to man with this team is going to be the open man, because that is how loaded they are. And to kind of tip my hat to your point earlier about, betting odds listing them as, a top 3 finisher in the West, I think that's underselling it completely. I think if you want to make a quick buck in this, you put it on the fact that I wouldn't say a fact, but you put it on the Mavs being top in the West. I think they have the potential to do that. And I may get some hate for that comment. I don't care. That's what I honestly believe, because in my opinion, we're the most loaded team in the league, top to bottom.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair opinion to have, because several fans, and I don't know I haven't seen too many like national media analysts give their opinions on it yet. I'm sure we'll have more of that once the season actually gets rolling, or at least when we get to training camp and people start talking about the NBA again instead of college football, which is getting underway. But especially with Mavs fans, you can kind of see where people were a little upset, felt like the Mavs are being disrespected. Because, I mean, look, this team that didn't have Klay Thompson and these other pieces that could have pushed them over the top if they had had them against the Celtics in these previous finals. That same team that didn't have all these extra reinforcements won the West, and none of those series went the distance. It was 6 games, 5 games. Boom, you're in the finals. And that was with Luka at about 75%. If we're being generous, he was very hobbled throughout that entire postseason. And it didn't matter. They still made it all the way to the NBA Finals. So you take that into consideration, and it's like, yeah, we get it. The Thunder, in theory, should be better next year. Because I really did like their offseason moves. They got Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. I really like that for them. But nothing is guaranteed. Like I would argue that the Thunder were very much ahead of schedule last season.
Yeah.
I don't think they should have been the number 1 seed, but they were. They had, out of all the other teams in the league, they had the best luck when it came to injuries. Like all of their guys didn't miss any games. If they did, it was very, very few. Their whole starting lineup was together for the entire season. So in that regard, they were very fortunate. Is that going to happen throughout an 82-game season 2 years in a row for them? I don't know.
Especially given the fact that one of their best players has historically been injury prone throughout his whole career. Chet Holmgren, he didn't even play his rookie year because of injury. And leading up to that, I believe that he also had some injury issues in high school. And the reason for that is because, well, he's, $170 at 7'3" or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and wish for injuries on people because that's a terrible thing. But I would be shocked if they had that same level of luck this coming year. I will be absolutely shocked.
Yeah. But, I mean, then look, the Timberwolves, they're going to be good because Anthony Edwards is going to continue to get better. But I mean,
they're the same.
They're the same. They're the same team. It's the same team. Luka and Kyrie can tear that team apart any day of the week. And
I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm gonna get hate for this. I don't care. Come for me. Anthony Edwards isn't as good as people say he is. He isn't. Go look at the numbers. Go look at the metrics. Hell, I did a piece on it the other day.
I'll put an asterisk on it. He's not as good as people think in the instances where people are saying he's the next Michael Jordan. I 100% agree with that. That is way overhyped. But I mean, he's good. He's very good. But yeah, the hype has gotten a little out of control with Anthony Edwards.
He's good, but he's not good enough to carry a team to the NBA Finals. He's not good enough to carry a team past Luka's Mavs, even this past year, whenever you had a hobbled Luka Doncic, and you also had a less loaded team than what you have right now, a team with less depth, a team with less experience.
Especially with the spacing that Rudy Gobert provides on offense. So
he's terrible. Okay. He's also, and not only that, he's also, for a defensive player of the year, he is absolutely horrid because he is literally a liability in any kind of pick and roll you put him in. The Mavs literally killed them play after play after play after play with the pick and roll because he could only perform drop coverage. And, if this tells you anything, France benched him in the Olympics. In the gold medal game, France benched him.
Yeah.
Because he's not capable of guarding the pick and roll, and he's not capable of scoring in any sort of offense.
And after they benched him, he came out and said, "Oh, I had some kind of finger injury or something. It's like, well, your team played better.
It's the gold medal game. Anyone worth their weight in anything is going to play in that game no matter what. You think that Luka would sit out a gold medal game because his pinky hurts?
Yeah.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I mean, the Thunder, in my opinion, that's the Mavs' best competition in the West. But, I'm still taking Luka and Kyrie over SGA and the rest of that crew. I'm taking Luka, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, and the Mavs' overall depth over what OKC has cooking over there. And everybody will say, oh, they're so young. They're so young. Shea is actually older than Luka.
Yeah.
He is older than Luka. So,
Yep.
there's that. There's that one fact. And then the rest of the roster, they didn't necessarily get younger with Caruso and Hartenstein joining the team either. So
no. Even though those are two really good pieces, I love Caruso. I love what he brings to the team. And, I mean, I've told you I loved Hartenstein as well whenever he was with the Knicks. But I don't think that what they added adds up to what the Mavs added. I really don't. So SGA could very well take a step forward. Yeah, Chet could probably get a little bigger and better, but I don't know. Call me a homer. I don't care. I like our odds.
And then the third team. So we talked about the Thunder and the Timberwolves, and then the third team I wanted to bring up was Denver Nuggets, because obviously they've won a title. Nikola Jokic is incredible. He's won 3 out of the last 4 league MVPs. Individually, he's amazing, but his team keeps getting worse every year after they won that title. They keep losing key players that that they should be keeping. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was one of their glue guys. Like, he was one of their better three-point shooters, really good defensive player, took on a lot of their tough assignments, especially like opposing guards. And he walked for nothing this summer, went to the Orlando Magic. So, and then they, what did the Nuggets do? They turned around and brought in 35 or 36-year-old Russell Westbrook. So, the Nuggets got worse. So I don't think you have to worry about them. I don't think you have to worry about the Timberwolves as much. I think the Timberwolves, unless Anthony Edwards turns into a player that lives up to the massive hype that has been bestowed upon him, I think the Timberwolves have peaked, so to speak. So I really do think it's Mavs and Thunder.
Well, for Anthony Edwards to live up to that hype, he's going to first have to develop a consistent jump shot, not only from 3, but from all over the floor. And he really, really struggles whenever you force him to take jumpers. He is an excellent rim-to-rim athlete. He is excellent at attacking the rim, at getting to the rim, just because he's so explosive. And yeah, he can get hot and make tough shots. But as far as just being a straight-up, reliable offensive option, there are times that he struggles. Denver also needs to be on red alert for Jokic potentially leaving, I think, because they're not getting any better. Like you said, they're actually getting worse. And as nonchalant as Jokic acts, once you win a title, what's the thing you want most?
Another title. That's why
Exactly.
Giannis, there's been smoke around Giannis ever since that 2022 title.
So is there a pipe dream big 3 of Giannis and Jokic winding up in Dallas with Luka?
Okay, well, that can't work financially, but I could definitely see one of the two ending. And look, it would definitely be Jokic, in my opinion. I mean,
think so too.
Him and Luka are best friends. Like, they can't wait to be in each other's presence at certain, like over this past weekend, they were at Goran Dragic. He had a farewell event, like a farewell game in Slovenia. And, Dirk Nowitzki was there, Luka was there, Jokic was there, several other, even Chris Bosh was there. Chris Bosh hasn't played basketball since like 2016 because of the heart condition he had. Even he was there. But anyway, you see all the clips of Luka and Jokic joking around, and, they love being on the same team. And we saw it.
Water bottles.
Yeah. And, we saw it during the All-Star game last season and the season before. So, I mean, look, I could totally see it happening at some point. If both teams continue on the same trajectory that they're currently on, I could totally see Jokic wanting to team up with Luka in Dallas. And Dirk, they interviewed Dirk while he was in Slovenia, and they asked him about that specific thing. And Dirk was just like, "Oh yeah, that would be awesome." And he was just like, "If it happens, I sure do hope it's in Dallas." So everybody's kind of thinking about it,
I think that's an omen. I really do. Where there's smoke, there's fire, as you like to say. And I think that there's a lot of smoke being created with the potential of that duo linking up in Dallas. And it's got to be in Dallas because Denver, I think that Denver has made a series of really grave mistakes the past couple of years. I think that they've shown that they were content to win that one title, and then that's it. And I don't think that Jokic and the front office are on the same page in that regard. Yeah. And I think that's going to cause a little bit of tension there. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Jokic leaves, specifically for Dallas.
Yeah.
Now, what would we have to give up? That's a whole nother conversation.
Well, obviously,
several years down the road as well. So,
well, obviously, you wouldn't be able to keep Luka, Kyrie, and Jokic on the same team. So I think this particular pipe dream would have to be like, so, Kyrie has this next season and the following season remaining on his contract. So then you start looking ahead to summer of 2026. And it's like, okay, well, what are the Mavs looking like? Are they ready to move on from Kyrie at that point, who will be 34 years old? What's the situation there? Because I could totally see that happening. It's like, okay, well, Kyrie has run his course, not because of anything he did off the court, just because of age and everything. So it's like, okay, who's going to be the next, true co-star next to Luka? And I think that's where you start to you will start to see some of that stuff seeping in. And then look, even if it's not Jokic, like I said, there's other stars around the league who are in similar or could be potentially in similar situations going forward, like Giannis. And De'Aaron Fox, he is my sleeper for the Mavs, as far as replacing, like, just say we're replacing Kyrie specifically, he should be a free agent that same summer that Kyrie Irving's contract is up. And it doesn't look like Fox is happy in Sacramento with how things are currently going. So I could totally see that being a match made in heaven too. But we're going to get into some really interesting talk, an interesting discussion that was brought up by a former NBA player regarding Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Want to play All right, I'm going to cut it there, and we're going to start here. Want to play Prize Picks alongside Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sugar Sean O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code STEPBACK and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code STEPBACK on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, DJ. That was a mouthful. Okay. We're going to get into this discussion that former NBA player Nick Young, who is, I'm going to be nice, he's not known for his intelligent takes.
I'm not. He's an idiot. So
yeah, he's not the brightest crayon in the box, you know. So, and he's said some really eyebrow raising things about European players over the years. It's borderline xenophobic. So, you know, I don't like Nick Young. I think there's some deep rooted stuff going on with him there. But he brought up a point today, and I wrote about it on DallasBasketball.com. He basically said that Kyrie Irving is the Kobe Bryant to Steph Curry's Michael Jordan. You know, saying that, you know, people are pretty much scared to say that Kyrie Irving is better. And first of all, Kobe Bryant, as great as he was, is not better than Michael Jordan. So in that regard, you know, I'm sure a lot of people will see that quote and be like, okay, well, yeah, you're right. Kyrie Irving is the Kobe Bryant to Steph's Michael Jordan. Bless you. And and I'm sure they'll see that and say, okay, well, that works. But, you know, basically what Nick Young is saying is that there's a case that could be made for Kobe Bryant being better than MJ. And he's saying the same thing can be said for Kyrie Irving to Steph Curry. Now, my personal take, and you might disagree, but my personal take is, yeah, Steph has the edge on Kyrie Irving right now. Now, the career averages are neck and neck. So, you know, if you go by that, it could be a coin flip. Obviously, Steph's a little bit better three-point shooter. Irving's the better, you know, finisher, in my opinion. And he can just do a little bit more. He's a little bit more versatile offensively than Steph is. And that almost sounds blasphemous because of Steph's gravity, you know, the impact he has on offense. But that's just how I feel about it. So if you're looking at stats, it's like, okay, well, you know, it's a coin flip. If you look at the other accolades, it's like, okay, well, Steph has 4 championships. Kyrie has 1, even though Kyrie's was an unbelievable Game 7 game-winning three-pointer against Steph Curry and a 73-win Warriors team that year. So that was incredible. But Steph also has 2 league MVPs. Kyrie doesn't have any. Steph has a finals MVP. Kyrie does not have a finals MVP. So that, in my opinion, is what separates Steph from Kyrie. I think they're closer than what many people think in the all-time discussion. But, you know, Kyrie has to add a little bit more to his resume, you know, in this last part of his career to kind of close the gap between him and Steph. And I think that's possible because, I mean, people don't realize it, but there's a 4-year age gap between Kyrie and Steph.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kyrie's 32, Steph is 36. Steph is a lot closer to the end of his career than Kyrie Irving is right now. So, you know, when you take that into consideration, along with the fact that, you know, the Warriors are kind of looking like a dumpster fire with their roster situation, with 36-year-old Steph leading the way. Kyrie Irving just got reinforcements by getting Steph's 4-time champion teammate, Klay Thompson, and you have Luka in his prime alongside him too. You know, the stars are kind of aligning here for Kyrie to really make a dent in this. And, you know, I really think even if he doesn't add another championship or 2, I do think it's closer than what people think, even though Steph has the edge. But I think, you know, we could be 3-4 years down the road here, and Kyrie could completely change the narrative here. What do you think?
So, all right, let's just break it down, first of all, player to player. Let's take away all the accolades, all the jewelry, all the glitz and glamour, you know. Let's just look at him player to player. Let's start with shooting. I think that Steph Curry is a better shooter overall, specifically off of catch-and-shoot situations, obviously, in terms of range, even in being able to create his own jumper. I think they're pretty close in that regard. They do it in different ways, but with Steph hunting the 3 more so and Kyrie just taking what the defense gives him. I think that Kyrie is a better ball handler at this point and really has been throughout his career. I may get some hate about that. And it's not understand this is not a wide gap by any means. It's not. It's very close.
Oh,
But
I think Kyrie's the best ball handler of all time,
I
honestly.
agree. I agree with you. And it pisses me off whenever people say that Allen Iverson was a better ball handler because Allen Iverson could not even dream of the things that Kyrie Irving can do with the basketball. We have completely – I mean, there are a few people that are higher on the ball handling echelon list than Allen Iverson, but we're not talking about that. I think that Kyrie Irving has the edge in terms of ball handling. Also, just a slight edge in terms of shot creation. And the types of shots he is able to make. I think that Kyrie Irving is a better hard shot taker. Now, I'm not saying he's a better shooter. I'm saying he's a better shot taker whenever he is forced to take contested shots at the end of a shot clock, specifically driving to the rim. I think he's a better finisher. And
he's more clutch, in my opinion. Like somehow Steph won clutch player last year, which was absolutely ridiculous. You know, that was really dumb in my opinion. I thought Kyrie was by far the most clutch player last year.
Well, you go and so I just looked at all these numbers on that article that I wrote a few days ago about like ranking guards in the NBA right now. And the numbers do back that up. The numbers do back up Steph's clutch factor. So it's hard to argue with math. The men lie, women lie, but numbers do not. So
and maybe it's a technicality within the last 5 minutes of the game is what we're calling clutch. But I mean, Kyrie led the league in fourth quarter buckets. Like I remember so many times where the Mavs just looked kind of lethargic at times and they didn't have anything going. And then all of a sudden Kyrie just comes out of nowhere and just carries them in the fourth quarter. So maybe that's just a technicality. Maybe they're just really cutting it off at that 5 minute mark at the end of the fourth and not factoring in the entire, 12 minutes or whatever. Because when I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, I consider in my head when I think clutch, I think overall fourth quarter stuff. And then, hitting the game winning shots, not just that last 5 minutes. And, it's hard to, Kyrie had the game winner of the year that I was fortunate enough to be in the building for in Dallas, the left-handed floater over Jokic. So, I'm a little biased, but I think I'd take Kyrie.
I will also tell you this, and this is the reason why I also take Kyrie. I know I said that Steph had the better numbers this season, but overall, whenever we take full body of work, Kyrie Irving has one of the biggest game winners in NBA history.
Yep.
Kyrie Irving has one of the
he shot that shot over Steph.
Right, exactly. He has one of the whenever you think of clutch plays to win an NBA Finals, that's the one that comes to mind. That's the one that all these kids are practicing in their backyard. 3, 2, 1, Irving for 3, bang. That's what we're doing here. So just in terms of full body of work, as far as clutch is concerned, I give Kyrie the slight edge just because historically he just has a little bit more compelling case. Not by much, but just a little bit, just given the total body of work.
Well, at the very least, I think it's an interesting discussion to bring up because, like I said, most of the times when Nick Young says something, I looked at it. I'm going to be honest with you. I had him blocked on Twitter before I saw, I think it was ESPN that posted his tweet, like a screenshot of it on Instagram. And I was like, okay, well, that's not terrible. I actually like that topic. and next thing you know, it turns into a Mavs Step Back podcast discussion. So,
well, one last thing, and this is what I think separates them: the defensive side of the ball, specifically this past year. Kyrie Irving was excellent on defense this year.
Underrated.
Playoffs. Underrated, but excellent. I mean, there's a whole bunch of numbers to back that up, too. Like, he was literally on another level. He was arguably the Mavs' best on-ball defender if you just crunch numbers. And either way, he made a tremendous impact on that side of the ball. Maybe too much effort was given on that side of the ball at times because sometimes he would disappear offensively, but that's another discussion.
Oh, he was wearing himself out. I was amazed at how he locked up Jalen Williams in that OKC series. Yep. It was unbelievable. That was fantastic to watch.
So whenever you take full body of work, I think that Kyrie Irving has the slight edge. And I think that by the time both of their careers are done, unless Steph goes and joins with someone and makes a super team along with somebody else, it would take 3 or 4 different people.
Yeah,
just to pad that resume, to give him another ring. But unless something unforeseen like that happens, Irving could edge out Steph as he approaches the twilight years of his career, because I don't know how much longer Steph's going to be in the league. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, he's not LeBron. He's not going to just last forever. I mean, those ankles are already not great, and they haven't been great for his whole career. So, you know, we'll see.
Well, I always said that his shooting would age really well, you know, like Ray Allen's did. So, I mean, I could see him. I don't know how many more years of him being a superstar he has in him, but, you know, as far as being an excellent three-point shooter and eventually, you know, gravitating to a role player type situation as he gets closer to 40 years old, I could totally see that for Steph. So we'll just have to see how long both players end up going. You know, Steph is in a situation now to where it's really, you know, we talked about superstars and being discontent and, you know, wanting a change of scenery. I think you have to put Steph in that basket, given how things have gone too. Because, I mean, you think about it, he's won 4 titles. Ever since that last one, everything has gone wrong for the Warriors. You know, Draymond Green has been more of a problem than anyone else, and yet he's still on the team, and they let Klay Thompson walk for nothing.
Crazy.
You know, he's 36 years old, and he's going to be they're going to be relying on him to carry like a Luka type load this next season. And for what? To maybe be the 10th seed, to maybe, you know, compete for the lower end of the play-in tournament. You know, what are you doing it for? So, you know, Steph and LeBron being real buddy in the Olympics and everything. You know, there were talks about the Lakers and Warriors having trade discussions around those two last year. So, you know, that might be something to watch out for. But I agree. I mean, I think Steph has the edge, but I think Kyrie Irving is right there. His overall game, take away the accolades, overall game, I think he's better. And I think that he can add enough to that accolades mantle, so to speak, over these next several years that I think he, you know, in everybody's eyes, he can separate himself before it's over with. We'll see. I mean, some people might think that's blasphemous, but I think he's right there, and I think he has a real chance to do it. So,
yeah, like we keep saying, we're not taking into account all the accolades. I know people are going to say, "Well, you got to," and I get that. I get that point of view. But if that was
the case, Robert Horry and Steve Kerr would be like better than Michael Jordan.
Right. Exactly. Tim Duncan would be better than Michael Jordan. So, I mean,
yeah,
you know, let's just weigh the players themselves. And I think that if you do that, that conversation is a lot more complicated than a lot of people would like to believe. But going back to your point about Steph Curry potentially being one of those disgruntled stars, you also have to take into account that he's playing for a guy who does not stick by what he says at all, ever. He's very wishy-washy. He'll say one thing to the media and then do something completely different. He'll be like, for instance, with this Klay Thompson issue, you know, he's preaching to the media, "Oh, we want Klay to stay." You know dang well that he gave the front office the okay to let Klay go.
Yeah.
And we aren't the only ones that know that. I promise
he showed it with how he coached him last year. You know, he moved him to the bench. He moved him to the bench and, you know, thought that was going to make a difference for him, and it didn't. I mean, Klay's numbers improved a little bit, but it didn't do anything for the team. So essentially all you did was bruise your star's ego. You severed a tie there, burned a bridge, so to speak. And, you know, you can say it all you want, like you said. He's in the media saying, "Oh yeah, we wanted him back." No, you didn't. You didn't. Given how you coached him, and given how the front office, the negotiations went with him over the last, not just this summer, but the previous year. Because Klay was willing to sign an extension, a 2-year extension, I think, last summer. And they didn't want to do it. So they can say that all they want to, but no, they didn't want him back. And now he's got a chip on his shoulder, and it's going to be a good thing for the Mavs because he still has a lot of good basketball left in the tank. And I think it's going to be an incredibly fun season this year for the Mavs.
Yeah, it's one thing to ask a guy to perform a specific role and just be outright with it. It's something completely different whenever you're saying one thing to the media and to people in general. And I'm sure he's blowing the same smoke up Klay's ass as he was, the media. And then completely turning around and doing something completely different come game time. That is dishonesty. And that is a value that is not – I mean, that's not taken lightly among players, especially in player-coach relationships. If you don't have trust, you don't have anything.
And I don't know if you remember this from that piece, where they were talking to Steph Curry about Klay leaving. And he was just, Steph, when he was talking to Klay, he offered to flex his, franchise player muscle, so to speak, to force them to, give him the contract he wanted to bring him back. And Klay was like, no, I don't want you to do that. If they want me back, I want them to really want me back. He didn't want Steph to do that. So Steph didn't. And now Steph realizes, how they were operating too, which, that could lead to some discontent on his end too, because, they haven't improved. The Warriors are not even – I would say they're a shell of themselves, but they're not even a shell of themselves anymore. That roster is completely unrecognizable. Like this, they've fallen so far in such a short amount of time. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think Klay is going to be amazing in Dallas. I think Kyrie is going to continue to do his thing, health permitting. And like I said, I think before it's said and done, I think Kyrie's going to give Steph a run for his money. So, guys, look, we appreciate y'all coming in and listening to us to start off your week here on the Mavs Step Back Podcast. We greatly appreciate it. Please be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have noticed if you've been watching our YouTube channel, but we have our TeePublic website integrated onto the site now. So any of our, designs, T-shirt designs, mugs, whatever, you'll see it floating down there below our videos. And we have some really nice designs on the way too. Those are in the works that should be here before the season starts. So be on the lookout for that. But, guys, we appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your week, and we will see you around this time next week. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, guys.